Happy Wednesday, UnWoke Nation. I'd like to welcome you to episode 128 of the UnWoke Show, where free speech is welcome, all subjects are on the table, and your boys Rich and Tim bring you the latest and greatest for your entertainment, baby. I'm your host, Rich, along with my co-host here. How you doing, Timmy?
Great, Rich, man. UnWoke Nation, guys, glad to be speaking with you again this evening. Guys, we're going to do a little housekeeping as always. If you're just tuning in or your friends are asking where can they find the UnWoke Show, well, they can find us on all the major podcasting platforms. We're on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Player FM, Listen Notes, Podchaser, Boomplay, Good Pods. Guys, we are on all the major podcasting platforms. Tune in, check us out. There's plenty of great content for you to download and listen to. Or you can reach us direct at feedback@unwoketheshow.com. Again, that is feedback@unwoketheshow.com. And tonight's episode 128, is Troops on Main Street, Trump's Crime Emergency, and the National Guard Gamble. Okay. So in case you've been living under a rock, these last few weeks, on August 11th, President Trump issued an executive order that federalized DC's police force and activated 800 DC National Guard troops. Okay. The move was framed as a response to what he called out-of-control crime, despite city data showing lower violent crime rates than during his first term. Trump declared a public safety emergency, branding the initiative as Liberation Day. Okay, he's in love with liberation. Right, wasn't that what the tariff... when he introduced all those tariffs and stuff, wasn't that on Liberation Day?
I love Liberation Day.
Yes, I love it. So he declared, he emphasized restoring pride and beauty to the Capitol, invoking imagery of decay and lawlessness that many local leaders and residents disputed.
And then, but keep going.
Yep. Governors from West Virginia, South Carolina, Ohio, and Mississippi responded to Trump's request by sending nearly 1,000 additional National Guard troops. Okay? These deployments were justified as patriotic support for federal law enforcement, though critics saw them as political alignment with Trump's messaging.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, many people feel that this is a dictator moment, even though he has come out and said that he is not a dictator. Okay. You can make the argument that what is coming up later, actually next year.
Next year, midterms.
Bingo. The strategic context along this is rising tension between federal and local authorities because Trump has told DC police chief to essentially get with the program.
Understandable. Yeah.
Okay. A broader push by Trump to centralize control over urban policing. Can't imagine where the dictator thought might come in. Okay. Political optics ahead of the 2026 midterms, where crime and public safety are expected to be key issues.
Absolutely. And that's not just in D.C., but it's also on the national level.
L.A. is already challenging the deployment of National Guard troops. Okay. And so, again, Trump has sought a federal takeover of law enforcement in the nation's capital, again, as by invoking the provision of the Home Rule Act, the 1970 law that grants the district limited self-governance to direct city police.
Okay.
Okay.
So basically what you're saying is based on that law, so the president can actually be able to take these movements where at least within the District of Columbia to be able to do that.
Correct.
Okay.
And this all started with I believe it was the beating of a federal
ICE agent, I think it was?
Yeah, or something along those lines that ultimately led to Trump inflating the fact that, hey, DC is this crime-ridden area and we need to get control of it and clean it up as a way of trying to show that he is doing what he can to clean up DC, right? He's even gone as far as say, I want to get rid of homeless people. And I want to clean everything up as much as I can.
Right.
Okay.
But you see what I find, Tim, too, is that, yes, there was a lot of pushback, when he initially started this. And people, like they said, crime is going down. And also, like I said, just a couple years back where I went out to DC, man. Of course, I was excited about it because I like history and stuff like that. But, there were some areas, and I had mentioned to you.
There are some rough areas.
Even like I said, the place, around where the Capitals play. It's like, that place has got trash everywhere and all this other stuff. But what I'm having a problem with, and like I said, I might have some opposing views of maybe some people in UnWoke Nation also, but obviously, there are people saying, well, he's being a dictator, so like that. But we at least know something's working. Now, why do we know that? We know that because the D.C. mayor, Muriel Bowser, got in front of a press conference and basically stated that she noticed that there was a significant change and actually took time to thank the president and all. We actually have this on tape right now.
And we greatly appreciate the surge of officers that enhance what MPD has been able to do in this city. The most significant thing that we are highlighting today is the area of crime that was most troubling for us in 2023. Now, we have driven it down over the last years, but I'm going to get my glasses so I can make sure I can see it correctly. But for carjackings, the difference between this period, this 20-day period of this federal surge and last year represents an 87% reduction in carjackings in Washington, D.C. We know that when carjackings go down, when use of gun goes down, when homicide or robbery go down, neighborhoods feel safer and are safer. So this surge has been important to us for that reason. And
So when we're hearing that, we never heard anything like this prior to the president actually coming forward and saying, hey, this needs to change. And also now we have Mayor Muriel Bowser, the mayor of D.C., who was against him at first.
Sure.
She was against him at first, but now we have her in a press conference, standing in front of the news saying, yeah, because of his actions also, we have carjackings down by 87%. So something's actually working. Now, what I just don't understand is the fact that if he has this law that basically states where that needs to be taken care of, and this is happening, obviously there must be, I guess my question would be, Tim, is like, how is it that police are actually feeling? Do they feel like they're getting the support and all? Because one of the things, as you just mentioned, there being, this is going to be a national topic when we get into the midterms next year. How do cops feel where they're getting the support that they need? Or so have we heard anything about that?
There hasn't been anything, but you can make, I don't know what I want to say assumption, but
sure.
We were talking off show earlier about the lack of effectiveness of police these days.
Yes.
Okay. George Floyd. Okay. The cops that were involved in Memphis in the altercation there. Trayvon Martin. Okay. There are numerous examples of police abuse.
Right.
And, for a while we were defund the police, defund this, right? And then, we talked about the Cincinnati brawl.
Yes.
Okay.
We gave everybody an update of that last week, so definitely check out, I think that was episode 124, if I understand, and also that we did an update where on the Cincinnati brawl that's coming up. So go ahead, guys, to make sure to check that out.
Yeah, and so to Rich's point, in the Cincinnati brawl, cops, the people called 911 and the cops were like, okay, what do you want us to do? Is the brawl still going on? Should we be there? Should we not be there? Right. Mm-hmm. So there's this sense of ineffectiveness right now. And, on a certain level, I can understand that level from society feeling ineffective. But at the same time, police did bring this on themselves. Mm-hmm. Now, we love the men and women in the blue here on the UnWoke Show.
Yes.
We fully support the
Shout
police.
out to the men and women in blue.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your service.
Absolutely. Do the cops involved, we also talked about New York, where they tried to get the guy in the back of that van or something, mm-hmm. and he ended up dying, right?
Yes.
Are there bad apples throughout the police force as a whole?
And I think, there has to be bad apples. I mean, I'm sorry, just like, there's dentists out there that might be bad at pulling a teeth compared to another one.
Accountants.
Accountants. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a fair thing to say, no matter what job, you're always going to have somebody who, like I said, and unfortunately, like I said, we've had some bad situations like Rodney King or whatever, so over the course of the last 30 to 40 something years.
Perfect example of bad actors that have painted an overall bad picture of law enforcement.
Right. So, but you see, the thing that we have that seems to be different compared to other jobs that we had just noticed, we've just been mentioning, where so it's just like the police, even the ones who are actually trying to do their job where so they're still getting a bad rap and they don't get the respect where they truly need. So here it kind of goes back to what you were saying just a few minutes ago when you're saying about how is this something, the bad rep that's actually coming from them? Now, is it more because of bad actors or the ineffectiveness? Is it more the ineffectiveness and also because you think that they're not doing their job, or is it because you think that the people who basically are in charge are kind of tying their hands of the men and women who are out there on the beat, and therefore they're not able to do their job? If we use the Cincinnati situation, you're like, hey, what am I, what would you want me to do? Well, that's sad because you and I grew up at a time where, hey, if something broke out, I mean, cops weren't asking questions. It's like you saw the cherries on top of the car and they were coming.
Yeah.
So what's different now?
So what's different now is the bad apple syndrome.
Sure.
Okay. The highly publicized bad apples in the media. Mm-hmm. Okay. The media has definitely amplified those bad actors.
Sure.
Okay. Number two, the disconnect, I think, between local communities and law enforcement. Mm-hmm. Okay. And it's political in nature as well.
Right.
And number three, the police report to the city councils and the mayors, and stuff of the world, right?
And I'm sure we'll get to that in a second because there's some coming attractions as we hear about. But continue. Sorry.
So it depends on what the political wins are at the time. Mm-hmm. During our spree of being governed by the left, we saw more and more hands-off policing.
Oh, absolutely.
San Francisco is a perfect example. What was it? Anything under $800, and you're like, listen, we're not even going to mess with it.
There's literally a sign. It's sitting somewhere in San Francisco that basically says that, hey, if you steal anything under $900 or whatever it is dollars, so we're not going to arrest you. So basically, criminals have at it.
So, and then all of the videos on, you see on Rumble, you see on X, you see on YouTube, of mobs just going into, say, Foot Lockers.
Yes.
and just taking whatever they want, going into CVS or Walgreens,
Right.
and just helping them, going into Walmart.
Yep.
Walmart is racist. And then couple that with police, standing there with their hands in their pocket.
Yeah.
Because, everybody's recording the altercations. Everybody's now a reporter. Everybody is has some sort of say in what's going on, which has made it difficult for police officers to do their job.
See, and I think what it is, Tim, is that, when you go back to what you had said about the George Floyd situation, I think a lot of people are very, very, my thought would be a lot of people don't want to be, and I think his name is Saverin, the guy who allegedly ended up killing him.
Right.
So no one wants to be in that position where, so I'm sure there were millions of cops going all over the country going like, well, dag, it's like, what do I do? And how do I do this? So maybe that makes them a little bit more hesitant about wanting to do their jobs. Now, I'm sure we need to look this up on the UnWoke show, but I think it's something to the extent that I think cops, if certain altercations happen where I think they have insurance that covers up to like $3 million in a possible lawsuit or something like that.
Oh, I'm sure there is insurance that, against those types of actions. Officers get put on administrative or essentially desk duty until they're cleared to, return to the streets.
Right.
Going back to the disconnect between the public and police departments.
Yeah.
Rich, you and I, when we were in our kids, teens, driving or whatever, there was never a time when you wanted anything to do with the police.
Absolutely. Shoot. I mean, it's like not just because I'm black man or it's just the fact that it's like we just didn't want to have anything to do with the police were. So it's just,
jail was a bad thing.
Yeah, it really was.
Right.
It really was. We didn't want to have nothing. We didn't like, being around the cops like that. Not that we hated them.
No.
We just knew it's just like, it's like, hey, you know what? Let's be on the up and up and make sure that, we're not doing anything wrong or, running the street or whatever the case may be. It's like, there was a respect for the police or whatever. So,
and I think, that's a great point. You use the word respect.
Yes.
There. There is definitely a lack of respect for law enforcement.
I agree.
Okay. But for some, going to jail seems like a rite of passage.
And that's the thing, Tim, is like, how sad is that we have communities in our country that basically, truly communities that can sit there and say families who are like
generational.
Yeah, generational convicts. Like it's just normal,
3 generations of orange jumpsuits.
Yeah, of orange jumpsuits or whatever. It's like juvenile hall and all these other stuff. It's like my cousin Benny and David were so they're on probation, one sitting in house arrest and like that. And it's like normal stuff. It's like what went wrong? It's kind of like something we had talked about before. It's kind of like where are the parents in all this? Oh, that's right. They're on house arrest themselves.
Right. And so it's cops, they're caught in the political crossfire.
I agree.
As well.
Right? Well put, man.
Yeah. We're doing our job. Statistically, crime is down. They talk about carjackings and they talk about guns. Again, all acts committed by individuals looking to turn a quick buck or something like that, right?
Right.
You couple that with what's the job market like? The more unemployment you have, the chances of higher crime rate goes up and stuff, right? And so if you're just Joe Schmo, good cop out there trying to do the right thing.
And I believe there's a lot of them. No, shout out to those cops.
Absolutely. Administrations be comfortable, or administrations are comfortable if the statistic is 36%. Okay. Crime is at a 36% year high. If that percentage drops, let's say 5 percentage points,
Sure.
All of a sudden, we're celebrating a win.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let that sink in for a second. 36. We're going to go from 36% to 31%.
Right. And I guess
That's a
worth
win?
yeah, that's supposed to be something we're going to have a parade in downtown Chicago. Is that it?
Or DC.
Or
That's
DC,
gonna, yeah,
Philly, you know.
That's Baltimore.
Oh, yeah. Baltimore's got a really bad problem.
Yeah. Is that moving that needle 5%?
Mm-hmm.
I could see that if we were in, I'm sure cops have a meeting every day before they go out on the streets and, hey, guys, let's make sure we're protecting the public, doing the right thing, right? And oh, by the way, great job. So far, we have gone from 36% to 31%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That goes to show what we're doing is working.
Right.
But we haven't made an impact. Right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're behind closed doors and you're saying that, you're like, guys, you're doing a great job, but that 31% is still too high. Okay? On the one hand, you're like, damn, I'm killing myself. What are we doing? I'm writing reports left and right and stuff.
I'm getting the bad guy. And we're taking drugs off the streets and all that other stuff. Yeah.
And all I'm getting is that a boy. Right? So there's a leadership factor there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, if you take that, if we go back to 36%, and then let's say the course over 24 months, which is a relatively short time period.
Mm-hmm.
We hear, it's 2 years. No, it's really 24 months. Let's say that 36% now becomes 24%.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty significant. I mean, I don't know if you get an attaboy out of it. I mean, I think it's kind of like, yeah, guys, you are really dropping crime and all. So are you trying to say in a way, it's like, because if it goes from 36 to 31%, or are you saying that it's like you feel like maybe the brave policemen and women out there aren't really getting a proper just a proper handshake of doing a good job, or does it have to be so significant at 36 to go to 24 that it's like now it's kind of like, wow, this is really a big thing? What's your thoughts on that?
So think about that, though, from an optics perspective.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to tell the American public, we went from 36% to 31%.
Mm-hmm.
Me personally, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, if you're telling me crime is down to 24%, 20%, and we went from 36%, to the average person out in the street, there's a high likelihood they might actually notice that change.
Mm-hmm.
That's that aha moment for somebody.
You'll start hearing more from the communities being able to come forward and say, hey, we know where, because remember, it's eventually will get out, because, you'll have the local news medias where that will be out there, following all these stories, and your investigative reporters and all those different ones will be out there kind of going, it's like, yeah, you know what? We've been trying to get the word on the street, and we're having, people out there who are saying it's like, yeah, it's much safer than it was before. When we used the example of DC, I recently heard a couple days ago, there was a couple, they must have been, people Washingtonians or whatever you want to call them, in the DC area. And they basically said, it's like, the guy said, it's like, my wife and I actually went out to dinner for the first time in 20 years.
So what does that say?
Obviously, there was a major situation going on. And if it's so bad, although it was already bad, but it actually took an ICE agent to get hurt. And also, obviously we hope that it would have been done better. No, but as you had said previously, it's a situation where obviously a couple of years, especially right there in our nation's capital, nothing was being done. Crime was still going up and all. And apparently whoever, being in the White House, they didn't care. And so it took this person to say, hey, enough's enough. Let's do something about this. And now they're starting to notice that the people of D.C. are actually caring. But they will care on a national scale at some point.
So the fact that they're seeing a presence. Now, keep in mind, National Guard troops are now able to carry guns. They weren't able to before. Could you imagine if instead of the National Guard, there was an actual police presence?
Okay.
Because
which should be.
Yeah, which should be. Because you could make the argument that we have all these National Guard troops out here. Man, it feels good to be able to out here. Nobody's going to, fuck up or screw off or do so. Or if they do, these National Guards guys are going to be all over them fast.
Okay.
To your point, your mindset has shifted from the news is saying it's just not safe to go outside to, honey, I don't want to go out. Now all of a sudden, media is reporting, yeah, it might be safer. Oh, there's National Guard. Hey, I talked to Tom and Betty down the street. They went out for dinner and they said it was actually the first time they felt comfortable. I don't want to say the word safe, because that's relative. They felt comfortable knowing that there was a presence out there that if something were to happen, that the authorities were in place.
I was just thinking as you were describing that about, the troops being out there in the public here in the United States. And also, I actually have a very interesting fact where, so for those of you guys who might not know in UnWoke Nation, where so there is a mandatory law that in the state in Israel that each citizen is actually required to serve 2 years in the military, so it's almost kind of like I almost feel like they're kind of earning their citizenship. But that's not the reason I brought this up. The reason I brought it up is because when the soldiers there who are part of the IDF, when they are off duty, and maybe a lot of people don't know this, and also even in dress clothes and civilian clothes, they're actually allowed to carry their AR, your registered weapons with them. And they said the reason why they do it is because they're always told to be alert, even though they might be in typical dress clothes. So my question would be is that, wouldn't that make a little bit more sense where that you would have people saying exactly what you're saying, that, I'm going to feel a little bit safer because even though, I see this girl over here who's, in a nice little sundress, but she's got her AR-15, and obviously I know she's serving the military like that, the likeliness is that some criminal or some type of terrorist organization trying to pull something, it's a little less likely because you see so many other people around. Heck yeah, I can understand, people saying, you feel safe being in Tel Aviv, where don't you see that? Probably do.
Okay.
So
where do you go from the feeling of police state versus non-police state?
Well, I don't know if I want to look at this as being a police state situation. And I just think that this is something that is an emergency that needed to be taken care of. Some people might say it's on a smaller scale because it's DC. We have major other towns, as you had mentioned previously, being Los Angeles and stuff like that.
Baltimore, just literally in the backyard of.
Right. It's literally a walk-in distance, going down there. And of course, as you and I know in UnWoke Nation, we'll be giving you more information as the story comes along. And we are now starting to hear, I think it was from a very close source where that I think such situations are going to be brought to the city of Chicago. And
boy.
Yeah. And obviously, Chicago being a major issue, but there's being talks about the president possibly wanting to have the National Guard walking into Chicago to kind of clean up the streets right there. So, yes, third largest city in the United States. This is the logistics capital of the country. There's a lot to go, a whole lot more compared to DC.
There's a lot to unpack and digest.
Oh, absolutely. So,
UnWoke Nation, we'd love to get your feedback on this story, guys. You can reach us at feedback@unwoketheshow.com. Again, that is feedback@unwoketheshow.com. Rich, a pleasure as always. And remember, guys, stay unwoke.